Hello, everyone. We greatly appreciate your attendance today. My name is Kai Jameson, and I'm one of the developers behind Regquest. I'd like to introduce you to Team Reg Excellent, made up of myself, McKean Campbell, Stephen Catalan, and Jonah Young. The idea behind Regquest was to create a game as well as an educational tool to help young programmers learn how to use regular expressions in a fun and an immersive way. I'm going to pass it off to Stephen to explain more about regular expressions and how we built Regquest.
Thank you very much, Guy. So, regular expressions, or regex for short, are a sequence of characters that can be used to identify patterns in text. They can be difficult to learn, which is why we came up with the idea during the bootcamp and thought, what better way to learn than with a fun and immersive game? The main idea of the game is that your playable character is trapped in a castle and will have to escape multiple traps using the power of regular expressions. We used a variety of tools when executing this project. We built our own custom API, which allows us to create and retrieve all of our questions from the database. We also implemented CSS animation frames to allow our character, Sir Reginald, to move fluidly through the game map. Now, if we switch over to the project board, please, you can see our agile development setup, where we carried out morning stand-ups, daily Scrum meetings, and this project board containing user and owner stories to coordinate our efforts over the past weeks. Lastly, with the use of test-driven development, we ensured our code was in working order every step of the way, simulating a controlled environment with integration tests before deploying. I'll now pass you off to my teammate McKean, who has agreed to walk you through our main menu and other pages.
Thank you, Stephen. So here at our main menu, we've got a few buttons, and we can actually go ahead and click into the Begin Quest button. And right here, you can see the main game page where students will be able to spend most of their time. At the top there, we've got a small viewport for the game, as well as a tutorial window that kind of just introduces you to what's going on. And it will also pop up to kind of teach you the lesson that the question is trying to get you to understand. And then we also have a question box down on the bottom. And down here, when you encounter a trap, the question will populate, and then you will put your answer into the submit answer box. And speaking of questions, let's go ahead and hop over to our question form. Now, this page is mainly geared towards the educator, and it's where they can put in all the info for the student. So the top box is just the name of their trap. And Jonah's going to put in some test info just to show you how everything works. And we also have a description box where they can put in the description for their question. And then we also have a match word so that the educator can put in exactly the answer that they want the student to give them. And then they also have exclusion words so that they can exclude certain ways of solving the problem. And then they can use the hint box in order to kind of steer the student in the proper direction. And if we go ahead and submit this, we can actually go ahead and hop over to our database. And you can see all of our other questions are in here in the database. But if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can see the information that we just put in, which is question ID 152 down there, has populated right there. And now we can go ahead and hop back to our main menu. And now we're going to go into the what is a regular expression button. And in here, it's just a Wikipedia link that has some history about regular expressions and any other basic information someone might be interested in. And if we go back yet again, we can hop into our final page, which is the About the Game page. At the top there, we have a nice picture of Sir Reginald, our playable character, as well as in the first paragraph, we've got some of the tools that we use to bring our vision for this game to life. And then the next paragraph is just some of the team building skills and organization tools that we had to use to take on a task this large and just stay organized throughout the whole process. And each of the images down there in the bottom of the developers, you can actually click into, and it will bring you to our portfolio pages, which just has links if someone wants to get into contact with any of us, or just look at some of our other projects that we've worked on. And now I want to go ahead and pass it over to Jonah, who's going to take you through a small demo of our game.
Thanks, McKean. And without further ado, let's jump back into the main game portion of Regquest. The first thing you might notice is the aforementioned tutorial window that appears at the start of the game. As the game progresses, users will see individual lessons appear in the box that correspond with each trap as they encounter them. We thought it would be essential for users to get more context on the different types of lessons that they would learn through the game, and the tutorial window does just that. Players are also able to move their character with the right and left arrow keys throughout the game world. And that being said, let's use this movement to find our first trap. As you can see, the tutorial window appears again with some basic details and pertinent information about the lesson learned from this particular trap. This particular lesson involves string literals. Now, down below the game window, users are presented with a prompt about the trap and how to escape it. Users will be stuck in the trap and unable to move until they answer the question properly. For this specific question, we have to match the all capital string literal box to move forward. As you might also be able to see, as we enter characters that correspond with the desired pattern, the letters will highlight green on an individual basis. And then once all of our match words that will be displayed down here are highlighted, we should now be able to press the submit answer button, which will then turn green and release us from the trap. Now, if I may draw your attention to the top left of the screen here, where our gem count is, you might have noticed that we actually have just earned 10 gems after escaping our first trap. We've added this feature to reward users with a sense of progress, but they also serve another purpose. They actually complement the lives feature that we've added just below, represented by the 3 hearts up top. As players play the game, some questions may prove difficult, and they may be unable to answer them on the first try. And in that case, users will end up losing lives for each incorrect answer. However, if a user has gems to spare from a previously answered question, they will be able to restore some lives and therefore have more opportunities to answer the question properly. However, if a user is unable to answer a question properly with the given number of lives and gems that they have available to them, they will be presented with the option to either return to the main menu or restart the quest from the beginning. I will now pass it back to Stephen to elaborate further on the technologies we've used, as well as our process.
Thank you, Jonah. So now I'm just going to take a few minutes and talk about some of the technologies we use to build the game itself. So for starters, we decided on a MySQL database to store the questions and the other data associated with them. We built our own REST API with Spring Boot and Java, utilizing a REST controller, a question service, and several endpoints to deliver data between the backend and front-end web page. Now, speaking of the front end, we decided on React.js to build the game you see in front of you, utilizing states to manipulate the components on a single page. To achieve the walking animation of Sir Reginald, we use CSS animation frames to cycle through an animation sheet. The game map itself is laid out in a grid component, in which we created with React, and each trap entity is pulled from the database with the correct corresponding question and laid out in front of the player so that when they move forward on their journey, the world of traps is waiting for them just off screen. We crafted our own matching algorithm with JavaScript to check user input against the needed password to escape the trap, and implemented a second function which turns letters green if a match has occurred. All in all, we feel like we utilized the full power of our tech stack to achieve this game. We combined a strong and well-tested backend with an inviting and fun, responsive front end to flex our full stack abilities and display all of what this bootcamp taught us. I will now pass you back to Kai, who will deliver closing statements. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. During our time working on this project, we faced adversity and a lot of ups and downs. One notable challenge we faced was setting up the grid system to track player movement, and we're initially using HTML canvas element, which proved difficult to access the data in each cell, which is why we opt to use our own two-dimensional array for the game world. We worked as an agile team to tackle challenges as they came. We utilized Stack Overflow and our instructor's knowledge to tackle some of the more challenging issues, and in the process honed our researching abilities. In the future, we have agreed to further work on the project on our stretch goals, like multiple questions per trap, a login system, and a scorekeeping mechanism so that future users can learn regular expressions to a higher degree. I would like to thank everybody for their time today, and will now open the floor to any further questions.